The planet Velmar 3 was burning. Bright orange flames lit up the night sky. Massive explosions echoed across the surface. Once a peaceful home to 5 billion beings, Velmara was now a war zone. Smoke choked the air. Screams filled the cities. Buildings fell like paper. The attackers were ruthless. No warning, no mercy. Just violence. They came from deep space, unknown raiders with black ships and strange weapons. Within hours, Velmara's defense grid was gone. Planetary shield. Failed the military? Crushed in a single day, President Draxel stood inside the last command bunker, deep underground. His hands trembled as he looked at the holomap. Red dots' enemy forces covered the planet. Green dots' people were vanishing fast. Is the signal out? He asked, his voice cracked and dry. General Trevin nodded. We sent a Level 9 SOS to the Galactic Alliance and all outer colonies. Draxel's eyes were full of fear, and nothing, not even an auto-response. Number 1's coming. The president looked up at the ceiling as if he could see the stars beyond. Please, he whispered. Someone, anyone, hear us. Above the planet, far beyond the smoke and chaos. The call traveled through the cold vacuum of space. It crossed hundreds of light years in seconds. It passed dead relay stations, ancient satellites, and dark moons. Most systems ignored it, but one didn't. Far away, in a quiet and uncharted star system, something awakened. A deep hum filled the silence. Engines warmed, weapons armed. Ships that had slept for centuries began to move. The Deathworlders had heard. The call Velmara's skies had changed. First, there were the black ships of the raiders. Now, something far more terrifying had arrived. The Deathworlder fleet appeared without warning, no lights. No sound, no broadcast. They didn't come from hyperspace like other races. They tore through reality like it was paper. Hundreds of massive warships suddenly hovered above Velmara. They were unlike anything the planet had seen before. Dark gray hulls, sharp and jagged designs, weapons glowing with cold blue light. The raiders paused their attack. Even they didn't know what to make of it. The people of Velmara looked up through fire and smoke. Hope sparked in their hearts. Help is here, some shouted. Alliance reinforcements. Others cried they were wrong. These were not peacekeepers. They were from Earth's a place long forgotten. A world feared across the stars. A death world. No one had heard from humans in over 1,000 years. Many thought they had gone extinct. Some believed they had simply given up on the galaxy. The truth was worse. They had been watching, waiting, preparing, and now they had returned. The Velmaron High Command tried to contact the fleet. Unknown vessels. Their message said, "We are under attack. Please assist. We welcome your help." No answer. They tried again. Still silence. Then the human ships moved. Not toward the command center. Not toward the civilians. They moved toward the enemy, fast and without hesitation. One moment the raider ships were floating above the city. The next they were gone. Vaporized. No fire. And then nothing. Entire enemy. Squadrons were erased in seconds. Human ground units dropped next. Not in pods, not in dropships. They fell. Encased in black armor, they slammed into the surface, like meteorites leaving craters behind them. The Deathworlder soldiers stood tall, silent and cold. They didn't speak. They didn't warn. They just destroyed. On the surface, Velmaran soldiers watched in shock as humans advanced across the battlefield. Enemy tanks were ripped apart. Raider soldiers screamed and ran, even the air around. The humans seemed to burn. But here's what terrified the Velmarans most. They didn't stop there. Human. Firebombs lit forests, cities, and even refugee zones. No distinction. No mercy. The Velmarans tried to wave flags. They tried to surrender. Some even tried to help the humans. But the soldiers didn't care. To them, the entire planet was compromised. Everything. Like in the underground command center. President Draxel stared at the footage. His face turned pale. "There, you're killing everyone," he whispered. General Trevin stepped back from the screen. "This wasn't a rescue," he said. "It was judgment." "Why?" We asked for help. Trevin slowly turned his head. Maybe we asked the wrong ones. In deep space, news of the event spread fast. A few pirate groups intercepted fragments of the attack. What they saw was impossible technology beyond modern science. Tactics too brutal to study. A single Deathworlder ship had wiped out an entire moon base in 4 seconds. Whispers began across the stars. Deathworlders are back. They didn't save Velmara. They erased it. Like someone cried for help. They heard, and they answered with fire. The galaxy had long forgotten the rage of Earth. They thought the humans had become legends. They thought they were safe. But now, stars would remember, and they would fear, because when a Deathworlder fleet answers your call for help, the only thing you can expect is fire. The sun rose over Velmarothri, but it brought no light, only shadows from the smoke-filled sky. The once green cities were now ash and broken steel. Towers had fallen, roads were ripped apart, fires still burned. Silence had returned, but it wasn't peace. It was the quiet that comes after death. President Straxel sat in what remained of the underground command room. The screens showed no activity, no enemy ships, no human ships, just gray skies and ruins. No one knew where the Deathworlder fleet had gone. They came without a word. They destroyed everything, and then they vanished like ghosts. We begged for help, Draxel whispered, and they gave us fire. General Trevin stood beside him. His uniform was torn. His eyes were empty. They didn't care who lived or died, he said. To them, we were just part of the infection. Infection, Cecil asked. Trevin nodded. That's what the humans called it long ago when they left the galaxy. They said the galaxy was sick, corrupted, weak, and they refused to be part of it. Draxel stared at him. You mean this was a warning? No. Trevin said, this was a reminder. 3 days earlier, classified star system, marked human fleet carrier judgment class, Phantom of Earth. The ship was the size of a continent. It drifted in silent space, hidden in a dead system with no planets, no sun, only darkness. Thousands of Deathworlder warriors stood ready. Their armor was black, smooth, and cold like stone. Their faces were hidden, their voices unheard. In the command chamber, a figure stood tall. His name was Commander Virik, and he was born on Earth 600 years ago. Earth wasn't like other planets. It was harsh, violent, unforgiving. The creatures there fought too. Survive every day. The humans were shaped by that world, hardened by it. It's forged like weapons. They didn't evolve for peace. They evolved to win. Virik looked at the SOS. Replay again the cry for help from Velma Ra-3. He didn't smile. He didn't blink. They're infested, he said flatly. They traded honor for comfort. They let others fight their wars. They ask us to save them. His second in command, a woman named Kale, looked up from her display. Orders, sir? Total. Fire protocol, Virik said. No survivors, no warning, no mistakes. Kale saluted. Understood. She knew what it meant. No one gets rescued. Only the infection gets removed. Back on Velmara, survivors began crawling out of the wreckage. Some tried to rebuild, some cried in the streets, and some started asking questions. One man, a scientist named Kelron, found something strange buried. Under the Rubla, a small black drone, not like anything seen before. It had no markings, but it was still active, still recording. He picked it up carefully. Why would they leave a surveillance drone behind? He muttered. Then the drone played a message. Just one. A cold, deep voice. You called for rescue. Earth answered. Let the stars remember this, and think carefully before asking again. The drone exploded. Kelron barely survived in the capital. Ruins of Elmeron news team broadcast what they could. Some say it was punishment, the reporter said. Others believe it was justice. But one thing is clear. Humanity has returned. And they are not like us anymore. They don't speak peace. They speak fire. Across the galaxy, millions watched in fear. Alliances panicked. Empires sent scouts. Pirate fleets went dark. Even the mighty Zolari Dominion, known for their pride, remained silent. Old stories about Earth began to rise again. They said, Earth had once fought the Galactic Alliance to a standstill, they said. Humans had killed gods. They said Earth's final fleet was buried deep inside black holes, waiting to be awakened. No one believed those stories. Until now, they were afraid they were all true. A council of outer systems gathered to respond. They destroyed Velmar 3. One ambassador shouted, "They're monsters. They warned us 1,000 years ago," another replied. Told us they would not come back unless we lost our way. A third slammed his fist on the table. Then maybe we shouldn't have asked for their help. But it was too late. The call had been sent. The Deathworlders had awakened. Now the galaxy didn't know what to fear, more the raiders who had attacked, or the humans who had responded. Meanwhile, deep in space, the Phantom of Earth continued its silent patrol. Commander Vierick stood at the observation deck. Behind him, Kale approached. "Scanners show activity on the edge of Sector 12, she said. "Zulari fleets, possibly preparing for war." Vierick didn't move. "Let them come, and if another world calls for help," she asked. Vierick finally turned to face her. "We'll answer again." He stepped into the dark hallway, and "We'll bring fire." The fleet moved like a shadow through the stars. No signals, no lights, no warnings, just the silent black warships of Earth, each shaped like a floating blade, sharp and smooth. They drifted between systems like ghosts, hunting for signals. For another cry for help, another sign of weakness. On the outer edge of Sector 12, a massive Zulari fleet was gathering. Over 100 capital ships, 10,000 fighters, hundreds of destroyers. Their purpose was clear: revenge. The Zulari Empire did not forget insult. Velmar 3 was one of their protectorates, and Earth had burned it down without hesitation. No trial, no negotiation, no mercy. The Empress of the Zulari sat on her throne of ice, cold and silent. Her voice echoed across the fleet command chambers. "We warned Earth before," she said. "Now they rise again from their tomb. They wear armor of fire and call themselves warriors. But they are still just animals from a broken world." General stepped forward. "Shall we begin the strike?" The Empress gave a small nod. "Send the strongest fleet. Burn whatever system they hide in, and leave nothing behind." The order was given. The Empire's best moved out. They did not know it was already too late. Earth's ships had already found them. Deep in the cold belt of rocks and dark dust surrounding Sector 12, the Phantom of Earth waited. Hidden among the asteroids, cloaked in silence, Commander Vierick stood in front of a holographic map. Red dots marked the enemy ships. You're spread out, overconfident, like predators hunting weak prey. But they were not the predators anymore, Vierick turned to his officers. "Protocol Stormfire," he said at once. Every Earth ship began to move. Black engines came alive, but no light escaped them. They sliced through space with deadly precision. No sound, no signal. Just purpose. Then the first strike came. A Zulari battleship, proud and tall, suddenly cracked in two. No warning, no time to raise shields. A single Earth torpedo had pierced its reactor core with perfect aim. In just seconds, fire consumed the ship. The other Zulari vessels turned in panic. Enemy spotted 2 clicks off starboard. No. Now portside wait. "How many are there?" The humans didn't answer. They didn't broadcast threats. They didn't show flags. They just attacked. Zulari fighters scrambled, but they were too slow. Every move they made, Earth ships had already predicted. It was not a battle, it was a punishment. Inside the Earth fleet, Kale watched her screens fill with enemy ship signatures. She smiled quietly. They never learn. She whispered. Commander Vierick didn't blink. "They never listened," he said. Another wave of missiles launched. But they weren't just missiles. They were almost alive. They split mid-flight, changed direction, bent through gravity. No matter where the enemy ran, the missiles followed. Ships exploded. Entire wings disappeared in flashes of blue fire. the Zolari Empire's strongest. Fleet was falling apart. Back on the Empress's flagship, alarms screamed. Her generals were shouting, "We're being overrun." They came out of nowhere. How is this possible? One captain screamed into his comms. These aren't weapons, they're judgments. In the center of the command room, Empress stood frozen. One word repeated over and over in her head. Earth, 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 the ancient fear. Buried for centuries, had returned. A young officer looked up from his terminal, voice shaking. Message coming in, from the humans. The Empress narrowed her eyes. Play it. The screen blinked. A simple message appeared. Do not call us. Again, we answer with fire. Then the screen went black. Suddenly, silence returned. All Zolari ships stopped firing. There was nothing left to hit. The humans had vanished. No trace, no signal, no wreckage. Only smoke and drifting metal where a mighty fleet once stood in less than 1 hour. Earth's warships had destroyed over 90% of the Zolari force. They didn't leave a name behind. They didn't claim victory. They just left. On the Phantom of Earth, Kale walked beside Virik in the dark hallway of the command deck. How many ships did we lose? She asked. None, Virik said. She nodded. And them? All, he replied. They reached the viewing window, where stars stretched endlessly ahead. What now? She asked. Virik stared at the stars. They'll talk. They'll whisper. Some will prepare for war. Others will beg for peace. And us, we wait. We listen. And when another voice calls out for rescue, he paused. We answer. Kale looked at him carefully. With fire? Virik nodded. With fire. Somewhere far away, another world was already sending a distress signal, and in the black corridors of the Phantom of Earth, warning lights began to glow red again. The next call had come, and Earth was listening. The signal came from a planet called Thale. On it was once peaceful, a place of science and soft-spoken people. It had no armies, no ships. It's just floating cities and bright minds. Then the Karkan raiders arrived. Black ships fell from Malta, the sky like a rain of knives. The Thalians begged for mercy. They offered trade. They offered surrender. But the Karkan only laughed. They tore through the cities, burned the archives, hunted the weak. The last survivors sent out one final distress, signaled a soft voice, broken, desperate, to any out there. Please help us. We are dying. The Karkan heard the call and laughed again. They wanted others to hear it. They wanted the galaxy to see their power. But someone else heard it too. In the cold dark beyond the edge of mapped space, the Deathworlders were watching, listening. Inside the Phantom of Earth, red lights turned on. Kale read the incoming signal. It was weak, fading fast. Thalion, she said. Commander Virik looked at the star chart. His eyes narrowed. That system is under Karkan control. Are we going in? Kale asked. Virik didn't speak, just reached forward and pressed one button. All ships moved. No meetings, no debates. Earth's warfleet turned and vanished into slipspace, heading straight for Thale. At that moment, the Karkan were celebrating. Their leader, High Warlord Skarn, stood above the ruins of the Thalian capital. Flames danced in his eyes. He raised a broken flag. Let this be a lesson to the weak. Mercy is a lie. Power is the only law. His warriors roared in approval. They did not see the sky shifting. They did not hear the silence above them change, until it was too late. With no sound, no warning, the clouds above the burning city opened. Earth ships dropped like hammers from orbit. Dark, sleek, silent. Then came the first strike. One Karkan dreadnought exploded midair. Skarn turned to look up just in time to see another one fall. And another. And another. His fleet was being erased from the sky. What is this? He shouted. A commander ran up to him. Unknown attackers. We don't know who they are. They're not sending ID codes. Skarn bared his teeth. Fire. Everything now. The Karkan launched missiles. Hundreds. Thousands. But the Earth. Ships moved differently. They didn't dodge. They bent space. Kale stood calmly on her ship as the missiles flew around them, missing completely. Virik gave the command. Strike. Back. They didn't use large blasts. They didn't waste firepower. Every shot was perfect. Cold, clean, silent, one shot. One kill Karkan cruisers tried to escape. Earth ships were faster. They tried to hide, but Earth sensors saw through rock, gas, and metal. On the ground, Skarn screamed orders, his eyes wide with rage. Send a message to the Council. Tell them we're under attack. The comms officer turned pale. There's no signal. They've blocked everything. Then came the voice. A broadcast deep.com, unshakable. This is Earth. You hurt the innocent. You ignored their cry. So we have come, Skarn shouted into the air. You dare challenge the Karkan. The voice responded, No, we punish you. Then the city shook. Earth's warships opened fire on ground targets, not wild blast surgical. Streks, they burned weapon depots. They crushed troop carriers. They collapsed towers filled with Karkan. Leadership. But not a single blast hit a hospital or shelter, the Karkan.
Saw it then.
This wasn't war, it was
Judgment.
They tried to retreat. Earth didn't let them. Even their escape pods were marked and tagged. But Earth didn't destroy them. They let the survivors drift. Powerless. Silent. Back in orbit, Virik watched the battle end. All hostiles neutralized, Kale said. Thalian survivors? Asked. Less than 100, she replied. Quietly. Rescue them, he said. Then burn what's left of the Karkan base. Leave nothing that breathes. Yes, Commander. In the silence that followed, one of the Thalian survivors, an old woman, clothes torn, eyes filled with tears, looked up at the dark Earth ship floating above her broken world. She whispered, You heard us, when no one else did. And from the sky, a single reply came through her small comms device. We always hear "ruh" above the burning remains of the battlefield. Earth's fleet turned and disappeared into the stars once again. No reward asked. No names given, just fire. In silence, and across the galaxy, a chill spread. Whispers filled alien chambers. They heard the signal, and they came. But they are not saviors. They are the fire that follows the scream. The wreckage still floated above Thalian. Burned ships. Broken machines. No more Karkan. Earth's fleet had moved on, but the galaxy could not stop talking. Some feared it, others denied it, but a few, a dangerous few, wanted revenge. High Marshal Zarek, of the Crimson Fangs, sat in his war throne. Staring at the battle recordings, he watched Earth's ships appear out of nowhere, watched them move like shadows, strike with deadly silence. Zarek's eyes burned with hatred. Who gave Deathworlders the right to interfere? His advisor spoke softly. They answered a distress call. Lies, Zarek hissed. They did it to show their power. Earth wants to scare the Council. But sir, the advisor said, they didn't send a message. There's no warning, no claim. Exactly. Zarek growled. That's what makes them dangerous. He stood. Summon the warlords. If Earth wants war, we will give it to them. Far beyond known space, Earth's fleet docked at a hidden basin inside a hollowed-out moon. A place not on any map. No signals, no traffic. Just stone, steel, and silence. Commander Virik stood before a dark table. Holograms danced in the air. Star maps, enemy fleets, distress signals, unknown threats. Kale entered, holding a data tablet. Another call for help, she said. Virik didn't. Answer. Kale waited, then asked, Will we go? Virik turned to her. Tell me something, Lieutenant. Why do you think they fear us? Kale paused. Because we don't fight for power. We don't claim planets. We don't ask for payment. Virik nodded, and that terrifies them. He tapped the table. A new signal appeared. This one's different, he said. The message was from a planet called Rithon Prime, population 7 billion. Attackers, unknown. The voice in the message was trembling, almost broken. We don't know who they are. They came without warning. They destroy everything. We've locked down our cities, but they break through. Please, whoever hears this, we are dying. Kale swallowed hard, coordinates locked. Virik gave the command. Launch, at the same time, in the darkest corner of the galaxy. A fleet was rising. It was not like others. It did not have flags or banners. It moved with cold purpose. The silent ones, ancient, hidden, forgotten by history, no. One knew what they wanted. They never spoke. They never spared. Their ships were black like shadows, shaped like blades. Moving like phantoms, they had found Rithon Prime, and they were burning it down. When Earth's fleet arrived, they didn't see a battle. They saw a massacre. Whole continents on fire. Orbital defenses. It's already gone. The cities, some half destroyed. Some still screaming. Unknown attackers, Kale said, staring at the data. No records match their ships. They're not here for conquest, Virik said. They're here to erase. One of Earth's scouts came through the cum, sir. They're targeting power cores, hospitals, seed vaults. They want nothing left. Virik's eyes turned cold. Open the sky. Earth's ship spread out. The lead destroyer dropped into the clouds and vanished. Then it reappeared. Right inside enemy formation, and exploded with a blinding EMP wave. Enemy ships flickered, some crashing, some drifting. Earth strike. Wings followed in, fast, silent, precise. But this enemy was different. They didn't run. They didn't speak. They just fought. And they were strong. 2 Earth frigates were hit and crashed into the sea below. Kale screamed into the cums. Frigate. Eco 7. Respond. No answer. The bridge shook. Enemy boarding craft approaching. An officer shouted. Virik drew his pistol and turned to the crew. They want to fight? He said. Give them war. Inside Earth's capital ship, the lights turned red. Doors locked. Cannons armed. Firewalls sealed. The enemy boarded. But they were not like other soldiers. They had no faces. No eyes. Just black armor and sharp limbs. Like machines grown from nightmares, the halls of Earth's ship became a maze of death. Kale fought with a pulse rifle, covering wounded soldiers. Keep moving. In the control room, Virik stood still. He watched the enemy pattern. He saw it. Bring in the Shadowlance, he ordered. A new ship arrived. Long, thin, silent. The Shadowlance had only one weapon, the Vortex Core. They aimed it at the enemy mothership. Lock target, Virik said, firing. Kale confirmed. There was no explosion, no blast, just a ripple in space and then the enemy ship was gone, pulled into nothingness. The remaining enemy forces began to shake. Their bodies twitched, some exploded. The rest vanished, just vanished. Silence returned. Smoke hung over Rithon Prime. Earth's fleet moved through the ruins, rescuing those they could. Only one city still stood. Inside it, a child asked an old question. Are they angels? No, his mother whispered. They are the fire after the scream. Virik stood on the command deck, staring into space. Kale came to his side. They'll send more, she said. I know, he replied. But we will still answer the next scream. And far away, deep in the galaxy's hidden shadows, others were watching Earth, afraid, planning, waiting, because they now knew the Deathworlders don't come to save, they come to end the suffering, even if it means burning everything. The ruins of Rithon Prime were still smoldering. Ash fell like snow. Silent, cold, endless, from orbit. The planet looked wounded, scarred black from space. Earth's fleet floated above like silent watchers. They had saved what they could, but it didn't feel like a victory. Commander Virik stood alone in the observation deck. No lights, no noise. just the endless stars beyond the glass. Behind him, Kale entered quietly. "Casualty report," she said. 8 ships lost, 17,000 civilians dead, 55,000 rescued. Virik didn't move, and the enemy. Kale paused. No survivors, no signals, no remains. "They erased themselves," Virik whispered, as if they were never there. A moment passed. Then Kale said something strange. "We found something on the surface." He turned. "What?" She handed him a small device. Burnt, cracked, but still active. It was buried in the rubble of a destroyed city. She explained, not of Rithon origin, not human either. Virik activated it. A hologram flickered to life. It showed a star. Chart, but not just any chart. It showed systems that didn't exist anymore, dead stars. Destroyed planets, forgotten names. Kale pointed. "This one." It was erased from all databases 5,000 years ago. "Why?" She hesitated. "Because that's where the first Deathworlder contact happened." Virik looked at the map again. He saw a red dot blinking. "What's that?" Kale swallowed. "It's a countdown." "Countdown to what?" "We don't know," she said, "but it ends in 5 days." Suddenly the ship's alarm sounded. "Unidentified object incoming." A voice called. Virik rushed to the command deck. "Report." "Something's dropping out of subspace right above us." The crew watched as a massive black object emerged. But it wasn't a ship. It was a beacon, old alien, covered in strange symbols that hovered above them like a dark eye. Then it activated. A wave of energy pulsed from it, hitting every Earth ship at once. Systems flickered, lights dimmed. For a few seconds, everything went silent. Then a voice came through, but it wasn't speaking any known language. It wasn't even a voice. It was a feeling. Fear, cold, hunger, and a single message pulsed through every crew member's mind. "You interfere too much. This is your final cycle." Then the beacon vanished. Not destroyed, not cloaked, just gone. Kale looked pale. "Was that them?" Virik nodded slowly. "They know we're coming." Back at Earth, the High Council gathered in the deep chambers of Luna Command. The old leaders, the ones who remembered the first silence, now faced the new threat. A woman in dark robes stood before them. She was not military. She was from archives. Thousands of years ago, she said, Earth encountered something, called it the First Void. No records survived, except one. She held up a shard of obsidian crystal. "This crystal holds the last words of the First Fleet." She placed it on the table. The message played. A man's voice, barely alive, whispered, "They do not conquer. They erase. We are not fighting ships. We are fighting forgetting." Silence filled the chamber. A general finally spoke. "Must destroy them before they erase again." But the woman shook her head. "You can't fight shadows with guns." On Virik's ship, the crew prepared for the next step. The countdown was still ticking. The red dot on the map grew brighter every hour. Kale found Virik in the engine room. "Why are we still chasing this?" she asked. "We did our job. We saved people." "We didn't save anyone," he said. "We delayed the end. That's all." "Then what are we doing?" He looked at her. "Finishing what the First Fleet couldn't." Later in the war chamber, the senior officers gathered. Kale Virik, the AI construct known as Mindra, spoke calmly. "The source of the countdown is a system known only in lost files. Nemexis." Kale frowned. "No known jump paths. No signals. No life." Virik nodded. "And that's exactly why we're going." Kale looked around the room. "What if it's a trap?" "It is," Virik said. "But it's a trap we must spring." As Earth's fleet prepared to jump, something strange happened. A small ship appeared on the edge of the system. Old, damaged, human but ancient. Over 10,000 years old, Virik ordered it brought aboard. Inside, they found only one thing, a human skeleton. In a command chair, still in uniform, and carved into the wall, written in blood, were 3 words: "Do not follow." But it was too late. The engines lit up, the coordinates locked in, and with a thunderous pulse, Earth's warfleet jumped to Nemex's into the dark. Into the forgotten, into the mouth of something older than war, something that never wanted to be found. The fleet jumped into darkness. There were no stars, no suns, no planets, just ... nothing. It was as if the system didn't exist. Yet the coordinates were, right? Nemex is the place no one remembered but someone had hidden. Virik stared at the black space outside. The stars weren't gone, they were being blocked. Something massive surrounded the fleet like a wall. Not metal, not rock. Something else. Kale stood beside him. It's like the system was buried alive. The ships spread out, scanning. For anything, there were no signals. No power sources. But then, one of the scout ships disappeared. No explosion, no distress signal. Just gone. Where is it? Virik demanded. The bridge crew searched. Then something flickered on the sensors deep. Below the fleet, not a ship. A shape circular, slowly rising, the shape became clearer. A black ring, thousands of kilometers wide, rotating like a machine butt. Alive, it had no engines, no lights, no markings, just silent movement like something waking up after a long sleep. Kale's voice trembled. That's not a ship, that's a gate. And then, all around them, space changed. Whispers filled. The COMM's not voices, thoughts. Too late, they warned you. You were forgotten for your safety. Suddenly, one of the Earth cruisers opened fire. It wasn't under attack, but its systems had been taken over. The cruiser turned and began firing at the fleet. The other ships tried to stop it, but something strange happened. The cruiser exploded on where the wreckage should have been. There was nothing. Even the explosion didn't remain, like it was deleted from time itself. Kale gasped. They're not killing us. They're erasing us. Below the gate fully opened, inside it was not another place. It was a void, an ancient nothing, and from that void came a fleet. No lights, no engines, just black. Jagged shapes, silent, perfectly still. But every ship in the Earth fleet heard the same message. The Deathworlders returned, so must the end. The alien fleet didn't move. It didn't need to. Every Earth system communications, AI, even oxygen control began to fail. Mindra, the fleet's AI, struggled to resist. AM being overwritten. Virik gritted his teeth. Hard reset. Pull all ships back to emergency code 0. Manual control was restored, but barely, and then the gate pulsed. One by one, Earth ships vanished. No explosions, no bodies. Just sudden silence. Kale stared in horror. We can't fight this. But Virik said something strange. We're not here to win. Kale turned to him. Then why? He held up the old data crystal, the one from the first fleet. Because they left a key. Virik ordered one ship, his own, to dive into the gate. The others would flee. Sir, it's suicide, Kale said. No, he replied. It's a memory. As the battleship plunged into the gate, the Black Fleet closed in, but they didn't fire. They watched, because they remembered. Inside the gate, the ship passed through layers of time, flashes of old battles, dead civilizations, moments lost forever, and at the center, single core, a small sphere, spinning with energy, the origin core, the heart of the enemy. But also, it's the source of their fear. Virik stood before it, his voice calm. I remember now. We weren't the first Deathworlders. He placed the crystal into the sphere. A bright light filled the ship. Then nothing, outside. The alien fleet stopped. Every one of their ships froze mid-dash space, then began to vanish one by one into thin air. This time, not from erasure, but from memory, as if they had never been there. Earth's remaining ships watched in silence. Kale whispered, Did we win? Mindra's voice returned, flickering, not win, restored. Truth returned. Kale's eyes widened. Virik, is he? No answer came. The gate collapsed behind them. The system of Nemexis was gone again. But not empty, not dangerous, just quiet. The war was over. But only because someone remembered the beginning and faced it. The silence after the storm was louder than the war. Earth's fleet drifted in space, wounded, confused but alive. Nemexis was gone. The gate was gone. And Commander Virik was gone to only fragments of data remained. Kale sat in the command chair now, the youngest officer in the fleet, now its leader. All he could do was replay Virik's last message, the one hidden deep inside the system. Unlocked when the crystal fused with the origin core, it wasn't a message of victory, it was a warning. We were not made to conquer. We were made to endure what others could not. We do not burn worlds because we are cruel. We burn them because we remember the cost of forgetting. If you find this message, tell the galaxy Earth does not come to rescue. It comes to remind the stars what fear truly is. The crew listened in silence. No one spoke. The fleet turned toward home, back to Earth. But they did not return alone. Behind them followed a trail of questions broadcast across systems, empires, and sectors. Who were the Deathworlders? Where had they gone? And more importantly, why had they returned now? Across the galaxy, reactions exploded. On Tervis Prime, the Galactic Assembly played Virik's last message again and again. Half the council called for peace, the other half wanted to build defenses, but no one dared to send a fleet to Earth. Not anymore, in the Zorian Empire. Generals shouted in fear. They had once called Earth a joke. Now they spoke of Deathworlders. Like gods wrapped in steel, children were taught to never go near blue stars. Superstitions formed overnight. On the outer rim, scavenger ships found strange remains where the Black Fleet had once hovered. No materials. No engines, just ... dust dark cold, and humming with lost time. A single warning was carved into one drifting plate. They will return when you forget again. Back on Earth, the public knew little. The war had not reached them, but the fleet's return was live-streamed to every screen. Hundreds of giant warships, burned, scarred, but proud, glided over cities. People watched with wide eyes. They cheered. They cried, but they didn't understand the price. Only those on the fleet knew. Kale stood at the Terran Hall of Command, placing Virik's badge on the wall of memory. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The room fell quiet, even the highest ranking. Officers stood in silence. Then the lights dimmed. A new alert appeared in red. Message received. Unknown origin Mindra. The AI spoke. A signal is coming. From a deep system, coordinates, null sector 12. Message reads, you found the gate. Now find the lock. Kale narrowed his eyes. Another mystery, another threat. But this time, they were ready. He turned to the command board. Prep the second fleet. Are we going back out? The young officer asked. Kale nodded, but not. To rescue. He paused, then said what Virik once had. We go. To remind? As the ships lifted from Earth's surface again, people looked to the skies. They didn't know the full truth, but they knew this. When the Deathworlders returned, the stars would never be the same.